Good morning and welcome to the National Research Mentoring Network's webinar, How to Leverage the NRMN Network. So today we are going to show you some resources that are available on NRMNnet.net, in addition to some of the amazing virtual components that we have available on our platform. We recently released a unconscious bias course, which is we're very excited to launch with and share with this community. So we're actually going to be detailing some of those instructions on this webinar today. My name is Alexis Short. I am the Digital Communication Strategist for the NRMN Resource Center. And today we also have Katie Stinson, who is our virtual engagement strategist, who will be showing you the inner workings of My NRMN, which is our networking platform, as well as the My Mentor guided virtual mentoring programs. I will personally be walking you through some of the free resources that we have available, as I mentioned, on NRMNet website, and point out a few helpful tips. Okay, so please do note that this webinar will be recorded and then placed on the NRMN YouTube channel in the upcoming weeks. We do have about 10 minutes for a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please do enter your questions in the chat and we will address them in the Q&A portion. We do host these informative webinars on a monthly basis on the third Monday of the month from 11 a.m. Central Standard Time to 11:45. So our next webinar is actually going to be on September 21st. So we highly encourage you to share this information with your colleagues, network, to invite them to join this demonstration. Alrighty, so without further ado, this is the NRMN website. Essentially, this is how you are going to navigate and access all of our resources, as well as log into the virtual network, which Katie Stinson is going to be showing momentarily. Okay, so pretty standard. We have a little bit of information about the National Research Mentoring Network, our commitment to diversity, how we got here. We're actually in our second phase of funding, so we do have information on our previous funding cycles, in addition to how this structure has changed in this second funding cycle. So this is located directly under our programs. We are under the Diversity Program Consortium, so in addition to the Resource Center, there is also the NRMN Coordination Center, which helps coordinate and support the NRMN UO1 studies, and these are just a very brief overview of some of the funded projects as a result of the NRMN Phase 1 funding cycle. So I invite you to read a little bit more about our funding structures and our programs, but today I would love to demonstrate some of our resources, free resources that we have available to the community. So as I mentioned before, we recently launched this unconscious bias course. And I won't get into too many details about this because, as I mentioned, Katie will be walking you through this, but we're very excited because this is a virtual 5-pace component, a module series and it's completely self-paced. So just to gain a little bit more insight there. Okay, and you may access all of these resources by navigating to our main portal, and then we do require that you do create an NRMN account and log in order to be accessed this particular resource. But some additional resources that we have available, anti-racism resources for the biomedical research training community, and this was actually developed by our partner, by our larger structure, in which we are members of the Diversity Program Consortium, and they point out some amazing resources that they have available for here, for students, for higher education, for self-care, for mental health. It's just an abundance of support to navigate through these virtual times and changing cultural societal norms. So I invite you to explore those resources, and you may do so by simply navigating here. In addition, we have academic resources and the NRMN glossary, which is an amazing Rolodex of definitions developed as a result of NRMN Phase 1 from amazing leaders of innovation within this community. And another wonderful component that I'd love to point out is the Create Your Bio Sketch feature. So this is developed by NCBI. So we just want to make sure that you have an abundance of resources to be able to access in order to engage all of the components that NRMN has to offer. Um, Moving on down, we have our upcoming events calendar, in addition to an invitation to collaborate. So the National Research Mentoring Network is a diversity forward thinking structure, and we would love to partner in any varying capacities to be able to facilitate programs. There's potential to collaborate on a career development webinar, a Twitter chat, potential collaborations to submit to the NRMN newsletter. And so there's just a plethora of ways to be able to engage with us. So we invite you to fill out this information form. It's just simple, basic information to get the conversation going so that we can help support your community, your program, your next cohort, what have you. In addition to our showcase nomination form. So if you have experienced some amazing mentorship that's happened as a result of engaging with the National Research Mentoring Network, and you would love to potentially nominate your mentor, or you had a rising mentee that you wanted to showcase in this formal forum, we would love to be able to do so. We do highlight mentors and mentees on our quarterly newsletter, and it's a very simple, basic information form, as I mentioned, just to get these conversations rolling and to highlight members of the network, which we are completely about. In addition to, there's potential to present an NRMN career development webinar. Let's say you have the capacity to scale and you're developing resources on how to present in a virtual capacity during these virtual instances. We would love to collaborate with you to be able to share these resources with our national audience. As I mentioned, we have the NRMN newsletter subscriber list service, actually over 22,000 subscribers. So you really have the capacity to be able to reach a large audience within this community, biomedical research and STEM fields. So, and moving on down, as I mentioned, the newsletter is a wonderful means of engaging and staying in the know of what's happening in the community. So I invite you to explore our NRMN blog. This is just additional information where we house all of our articles that we publish. And it's a great resource to be able to engage, to see upcoming enhancements and highlights on the virtual network, which Katie is shortly going to demonstrate to us momentarily. So without further ado, that takes us to the Join NRMN button, or if you're already a member, you can simply hit this login button, and that would navigate you to our main virtual portal page. And at this time, I am going to stop sharing screen and pass it over to Katie. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining, and thank you, Alexis, for going into everything that's on the website. So now, as she said, my name is Katie Stinson, and I'm the Virtual Engagement Strategist for the National Research Mentoring Network, and I'm going to show you everything that's available once you've created your login. So today, we don't have time to cover everything on here. As you can see, there is a vast array of activities and features on here. So I'm just going to cover some highlights, and then if you have any additional questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us at any time. You can reach out to us at info@nrmnnet.net, and I'll put that email in the chat right now. Or you can also connect with me on this website. Again, my name is Katie Stinson, and you're more than welcome to search for me on here. And from there, I can answer any questions, guide you through, give you some more in-depth details about all the different features on here. But like I said, for now, I'm just going to walk you through a few basics on here, and then that way we can go ahead and get started. So for any of you that have previously been a member of NRMN for longer than the last 2 weeks, you may notice that there's been a bit of a facelift that has happened to the My NRMN site. So we are in the process of reworking this and kind of modifying it so that way it'll just be that much easier to utilize. And one of those reasons is that we continue to add more and more features to just really try and give you a robust experience and give you everything you need to get from one career education stage to the next. However, with that being said, you can see that our list continues to grow, and we do not want people having to sit there and search just to figure out how to find what's going to be most useful for them and have to scroll down through the entire page just to get our list of resources. So we are in the process of reworking everything, and that way just to make it that much easier for you to access what you need. But with that being said, stuff is a little bit reorganized, so I want to touch on that. So first, you can see that based on our matching algorithm in the system, that we have our list of people for you to match with up at the top rather than down on this panel on the side as it used to be. So here you can easily scroll through people that would be good for you to connect with. And this is all based on what you input into your profile, as well as your other people that you're connected to in the system, as well as the groups that you join, as well as any journals that you post, as well as any publications you have. So really anything you do in the system, we're capturing how you interact with one another to help recommend other people for you to connect with. So that's what all this is here. And you can see that you can easily reach out and request to connect with any of them. Then we also put our Find a Mentor button here. Now, as many of you are familiar, there is the search button that has always been here, and we're going to leave that there. And that's where you can search for the entire network and see everything in there. And you can find a mentor in that capacity. But we wanted to break this part out and make it just that much simpler for you all to be able to find a mentor. Now, something I want to point out is that I am actually listed as a mentor in the system, but I still have this Find a Mentor because everybody can use the help of a mentor every now and then. So what you can do is come in here, and if you've got something specific you're looking for, type that in there. But I'm going to recommend starting out with something a little more generic, like the key term biology. So now whenever I click that, I'm actually going to get a list of mentors, all with the key term of biology somewhere in their profile. And if we'll give it just a second to populate, now we can see here that we can narrow down further by institution, more specific interest, or even by location. And then I can also come here and start searching through the people that are available. So if I want to select this person that's at the top of my list, then I just click Request Mentoring. And it'll prompt me to make sure that my resume is up to date in case they want to go in and check me out a little bit before they agree to mentor me. And then the next step is actually where I can send them a message. Now, something I want to point out about this form of mentoring, because my NRMN does have two forms of mentoring available, is that this form of mentoring is very much almost an a la carte or even a long-term mentor, as opposed to the guided virtual mentoring that we also offer. So what I recommend using this mentoring for is if you have something specific that you want to work on, or maybe you are wanting to end up at a certain university and you see that this person works there, they're in that department, and you want to go in and say, hey, you know what, I love your university, I really want to work there. Or maybe you can tell that they work for NIH and you're working on grant submissions and you just want some specific help with that. Or maybe they're just in a position that you want to get to and you just want to know how they got there. So all of those can be mechanisms for this. You can also use it as, hey, you know what, I'm working on a grant submission right now. It's a long process. I'm just getting started. Can you be my go-to person to kind of just help me navigate this and make sure I'm on the right track? So this can be a one-off flash mentoring if you want it to be, or it can also be your go-to person. You're my go-to person that I'm going to reach out to. And what's especially great about this is that whenever you reach out to somebody in this capacity, you're not just limited to reaching out to one person. You can request mentoring from as many of those mentors as you see. And then that way you can have multiple different perspectives whenever you're going through and requesting that mentoring. Now, the next feature that's moved up to the front of the queue is this Ask a Mentor. And this is also linked out over here. Now, this is very similar to like a Reddit feed where you can come in and actually pose a question to the entire My NRMN community. And that way, anybody within the community can go through and respond back and even get a discussion thread going. So you can see it's very easy just to come in and add your question. You can even add any tags there so that way other people can be alerted to it. And then whenever something does pop up, then you can come in and actually see and have responses to those questions. Now, I still want to point out how what I've just shown you is different from the actual search feature. And what this really means is that the search feature is a very, very, very broad space, whereas what I just showed you is ways to go directly into two more specific places. So you can see I am again using the same key term, biology, and that's pulling 2,370 results from the entirety of My NRMN. And you can see that that can be further broken down by member, group, question, or journal. Now we've already gone over, or I'm sorry, we've already gone over questions that goes into this Ask a Mentor. We've already gone into searching for mentors. And then, but there's also journals on here, which pertains to the My Journals and the My NRMN journals. Basically, you can create your own blog post and either post it out just to those that you're connected to or to the entire My NRMN community. And then you can also search by group, which ties into the My Groups feature. So what I want to point out on here is there's a lot of different buttons going on, and I just want to make sure everybody knows what these mean. So this request mentoring that you'll see next to anybody who's labeled as a mentor is that request mentoring that I just showed you. So it's the same place, you can just do it in 2 different areas. You will notice, however, that there are some mentors that do not have that request mentoring on that for them. And that's because those mentors have specifically put on an out of office. And we know that all of our mentors are volunteering their time here, but they also have full-time jobs. Usually they're in organizations, usually they're heading committees, and just they have a ton of stuff going on. And we want to make sure they have that break to be able to step back and say, I'm spreading myself too thin. I need to take a break on something. We'll give them that space to do that. And that way it's not creating a bad situation where they're not here responding back to mentees or feeling like they just can't respond back to somebody and they're just not able to spread themselves that thin. So we have that available there. So that's whenever you see someone that is a mentor on here, but they don't have that request mentoring, that's what that means. We also notice that a lot of people come in here and they see that all these people are at these wonderful positions and, you know, just these high clout, you know, institutions. And, you know, they can be a little intimidating for somebody to come in and just reach out to them and say, hey, let's go ahead and connect. You know, that can definitely be intimidating. So what we've done is provided the space to say, ask me a question. And that's where you can just start with the question of, hey, can we just start that dialogue and see if this is a connection that we want to pursue? And so you can start with, you know, this is Paige Cooper. I fortunately happen to know her. And say, hey, I see you're at Duke University. How did you get to that position? Hey, I see that you used to work for the National Research Mentoring Network. What was your experience like there? Or just anything that you want to utilize in order to connect with this person and just figure out if you do want to establish that connection. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that, but that's what these are in here. And you can see you can ask me a question to anybody, regardless if they're a mentor or a mentee. Now, something I want to point out is also throughout here that you can further narrow down the results by role, such as mentor or mentee, by institution, just like you could within the request a mentor, by more specific interest, again, just like you could within the request a mentor. If there are any concepts listed, you can narrow by that, or even location. So next, I want to dive into My Mentor, and this is our other mechanism of mentoring, and this is our guided virtual mentoring platform. Now, I am already a member or a mentor in the system, and I do have a demo account set up for me so that way I can show you guys what it's like inside the mentoring connection. But I want to show you what it's like for somebody who's brand new into the system and doesn't already have a mentoring connection started. So how that looks is that anybody will come in and see this screen. Now, this is currently on a mentee screen. So mentors, if you would like to come in and participate as a mentor in this, yours is going to be even simpler. So instead of having a radio button to select here, instead you're just going to select this button right here, which is going to say become a mentor. And that's all you're going to do is select that button, and that way you're opting in to be a My Mentor. And what that is or I guess actually what the My Mentor connection is a long-term mentoring connection that's providing you culturally responsive mentoring goals to work throughout the course of your connection. We have 19 prompts that contain these goals, and each of those we estimate people to achieve on about a weekly basis, usually spending approximately 30 minutes per week going through. And so those connections end up lasting on average about 4.5 months. Now, all of this is completely customizable, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. So first, to get started, mentees now, you're going to want to come in and select your path. So first, and your path is like your curriculum. So first, I'm just going to go ahead and select undergrad, and then select a mentor. So from here, you're going to be given 3 different options of ways to select a mentor. So now something to point out, this profile of mine that I'm showing you here is completely empty. It's a demo profile. It doesn't have any information in it because I want to make sure that nobody accidentally matches and wants to connect with this profile. So you can see that the only people I'm matching up with are those with empty profiles, except for Damaris, who we love because she is the associate director here with NRMN. But so you can select from your top 3 mentoring matches. And again, I'm selecting with these people because they have nothing in their profiles. But so you can select from them, or you can also search the database of mentors that have enrolled in My Mentor. Or the third option, which actually is the most popular, is this option, which is asking the My NRMN administrator, AKA myself, to actually select a mentor for you. And how I do that is by going through our matching algorithm and seeing who your top matches are, but then also looking a little further and actually seeing when the mentors most recently logged in, as well as how active they are in the system. And that way I can try to match you with somebody that's going to be a compatible communicator with you. And that way it's going to create that good experience for you. Now, something else too to work on or to think about is whenever you are selecting a mentor in this system, we are focusing on a culturally aware mentorship rather than just working on your day-to-day. So while it may benefit you to have somebody that is in your exact same career path and exact same program of study, it's not necessarily beneficial. If you want to cover day-to-day things, that can work, but that's really not what this is focused on. Instead, like I said, this is focused on a culturally aware mentorship. Now you can see right now from my demo account that I am matched up on the junior faculty path or curriculum. And so we're coming in here and learning about defining moments, dealing with stress, a work-life balance. We're also looking at what difference does difference make when it comes to working with a team in the lab and, you know, being that different, being that other. And also working through perseverance and making decisions and trying to figure out what's next in your career education, you know, where you're going after whenever you get done with what you're doing now. So again, this is all stuff that, you know, you can match with somebody that is doing exactly what you're doing, but it really, really, really helps to actually have that complete outside perspective from you. And so not only outside of being outside of your, you know, immediate proximity, but also outside of your education and career path. And so not only can that help you kind of broaden your horizons of what you want to find next, but it's just, again, that different perspective. So within this mentoring connection, we provide you all the mechanisms for you to communicate with somebody in the system. So if my mentee was a real person and they were online at the same time as me, then we could start up a video chat, start an IM, or we can just go ahead and leave messages back and forth regardless if they're logged in or not. However, if we want to schedule a video call for the future, we can absolutely do that with the schedule a video call. It works very similar to a Zoom meeting where you actually create that meeting for a future time. And then both of you just log into My NRMN at the same time and conduct that meeting. Then you can also have a discussion board here that's just going through, you know, anything that you want to talk about that's not specific to one of the specific goals. So next I'll show you what it's actually like with inside of these mentoring goals. Now, something I want to point out is that everything is completely customizable. And if you'll notice, this goal is overdue for me. That's also because my mentee does not actually exist. And so therefore we have not worked through any of this, but you can see it's overdue, but I'm not penalized by anything. I can still go through and work through all of these. The only penalty I have is if I don't like the color orange, because that's displaying here now. But you are still able to work through these. You're still able to change that. But let's say that just bothers you to have a goal overdue if you're not able to meet that weekly deadline that's on there. Those are all just pre-populated, but they're not set in stone. So if you don't like that it's that orange thing on there, you can actually come through, and excuse me while I unzoom, and change the deadline here. And you can do that for every single one of the goals. So if you already know that it's not going to be possible for you to meet that weekly goal and you and your mentor or mentee are just not able to meet on a weekly basis, maybe you need an every other week or even a once a month meeting, you can set up these goals to change for that duration of time. And then that way you've got as much time as you need to work through these. Something else too is that these connections do not automatically expire. So they only expire actually once you get done with all the goals. So we encourage you really to take the time that you need in order to work through these. You're not on any sort of a deadline. We just provide deadlines there to try and keep you on track, but that is changeable and customizable as you need. And not only that, but even all the text on here is customizable. You can change my grammar in here. You can take out the videos if you want. You can make any changes to this that you need in order to make it, or in order to get as much out of it as what you need to get out of it. And that goes for the mentee as well as the mentor. So the way all these are structured is that there's a prompt. Some of them have a video, some do not. And then there are tasks to work through. Now, these are not tangible tasks where you're turning in assignments. Instead, these are actually talking points where, this one is, you're getting to know one another. It's the first goal where you both are introducing yourselves to one another. So what you do is actually, you're going to have that conversation and you're going to see the commonality. So this is where you're going to talk about what it's like, what each of you are like and what you have in common. And you'll mark that off once you're done. Then the same thing with differences. And then you're going to go through and talk about your culture. But if you want to make any changes to this, maybe you don't want to discuss what you have in common for whatever reason. I don't recommend it, but maybe maybe that's what works for you. You can come in and actually edit these tasks as well. And once that populates, you can see here that you can make any changes to this that you want, even change the due dates on here as well. So then once you go through and mark all these as complete, then you'll actually have a button here taking you to that next goal. But you can see here too that you're able to have a discussion within the goal itself, as well as share files back and forth. So maybe you do have something that you want to discuss that is specific, saying maybe you're writing an abstract and you want someone to review it. You can add that as a task on here and then even share that file down within this goal. Something too, because we want you to get as much out of this as you possibly can, is that we enable you to create your own goals. And so you can see you have that exact same rubric that we use to create these goals, and that's all provided here for you. And so you can input that on your own. Then once you create the goal itself, you'll also be able to add tasks to accomplish that goal. So this is the main summation of my mentor. Again, this is that guided virtual mentoring. And so we really encourage you, come in, join this, think about just the conversations you can have with somebody to work on getting from one career education stage to the next. But next, I want to go into one of our newest features, which is called My Courses. Now, I'm going to show you what it's like, again, for somebody that has not entered into this just yet, because you can see I'm already in the course. So this one, again, is my demo account. And so what you would do is click here and say enroll. And so once you do that, you'll be taken to the My Course home screen. And please forgive me, whenever I'm on Zoom, it always makes my internet go a little bit slower. Oh, and I'm sorry, like I said, this account is an empty account. And so it does want me to complete it before moving along. But fortunately, I'm not matching with anybody in this, so we should be good to go. So give me just a second to get logged back in. All right, so we're going to click enroll. And we can see it's going to bring you to the unconscious bias course. Now, once you click enroll, you're ready to begin the course. Now, each of these modules takes approximately 20 minutes to work through, and you can see there are 5 in total. So what you'll do is open those up and actually work through the modules. They will have a quiz at the end of each one. And then when you complete the final quiz, you'll mark everything as complete. And finally, and I'll show you in just a second, let me get this one pulled up. Whenever you finish all of those and mark them all as complete, you'll actually receive a certificate of completion that looks like this. So you can see that this just marks that this course was completed by me. And then from there, if you were assigned this course by a program that you're in, you can download this and send it to them. You can save it for your own things. You can upload it and share it on your social media. We'd love it if you do that. But you can see that you do receive a certificate of completion here. So from there, okay, we've got just about 5 minutes left because I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions. So one thing I just want to point out is your profile. So from here, whenever you first create and enter into my NRMN, you're going to walk through this, and this is actually going to help you set up your profile. However, if you didn't have time to set this up whenever you first joined the network, that's fine. You're able to just go directly to your dashboard and then go back to that anytime you want with this Get Started tab. And that will stay orange there until you actually complete all of these steps. But if you ever want to update your profile later or make any changes to it, especially as you graduate from one year, move, maybe you've graduated from one year to the next, maybe you have finished your undergrad and are moving to grad school, or maybe you finished your postdoc and have a full-time position. Either way, whatever changes you need to make, any updates that you need to make, you can do so here in the My Profile tab. So come in here, note that you can put in an alternate email address. And this is especially pertinent if you're a student, because this way you can put in your personal email address. And that way, if you end up losing your student account, say after you graduate, then you won't have to worry about losing access to your account here. Then you can see that you can also change your role from mentor to mentee. So maybe as an undergrad, you want to be a mentor, but once you get to grad school, you can upgrade it to be a mentor. And this works both ways too, that I've seen a lot of people that go from working in a research lab position to then being an administrator over the lab, and that is a totally different thing. And they've actually switched their role from being a mentor to being a mentee so they can learn and adapt to that role a little better. Then, and this is something I especially recommend for anyone that's an undergrad, generally whenever you are an undergrad, you have to make kind of a broad focus or a broad major, such as biology or biochem or chemistry. But here in this About Me section, we pull all of the key terms from here to help you create your matches and to help you match with other people. And so I would recommend, you've got biology here, which you can see I'm sociology, but let's pretend like that says biology. But I come in here and want to say that I really want to work on genetics with a focus in oncology. And so you can type that in here, and then that way that'll pull key terms for you that are related to oncology and related to genetics. Something else too is that for mentors, like I spoke of earlier, they can put on their out of office, and you can see that you can set a range for that or even just set the start date. So it really is up to any mentor of how they want to use this, just to make sure that people aren't reaching out to them unnecessarily if they do not have the capacity to, volunteer their time here as well. So that's what I wanted to point out here. You can also, if you have a CV or resume ready to go, you can upload one into the system. If not, we do provide you a CV resume builder, which I think is really fantastic. I've gone over that multiple times on previous webinars, so definitely check those out on our YouTube channel. I would be more than happy to demonstrate another time. However, I do believe we are about out of time today, and I want to make sure I get to questions. So I'll go ahead and start that now. I can see we already have one question in the chat saying, how do you set up these goals? I believe you input that whenever it was in the My Mentor platform. So how you would set up those goals, if you are a mentee, you would actually come in and select your path, and that designates what goals you're going to receive. So the goals that I have on the current My Mentor connection that I'm in are the junior faculty ones, and that's because that's the goals that my fake mentee set up and said that they wanted to be a part of. So that's how I know what goals I'm going to be receiving. The goals are already set up in the system for that particular curriculum, but you can make any edits to these that you like. However, if you would like to go ahead and just see what's available in My Mentor and just kind of see what all is on that page and just kind of get a better read of it, since you can't really read as much of it right now, I'm going to post a link into the chat, and then that way you can access the My Mentor page from here and read it a little more thoroughly. All right, so I'll go ahead and open it up for any other questions that anybody has. And yeah, if you'll post those into the chat, we'll go ahead and address those as soon as they come in.
Great. And also want to mention, if you do have any questions that you think of later on, please do send us an email at info@nrmnet.net. More than happy to address any concerns, feedback. If you guys want to schedule a more in-depth demonstration, I know Katie mentioned, there's just so much functionality available on this particular virtual platform that the CV builder, the my journals, asking questions to the community, and in addition to the unconscious bias course, like there's so much to digest, and sometimes it's a lot to take in a short period of time. So if you have specific questions or would like to learn more about a particular area, just send us an email and be more than happy to address those. And also would like to mention that we will be placing this recording on the NRMN YouTube channel, just to be able to share this resource to the larger community. In addition, I would also like to say a special thank you to the wonderful NRMN community. Unfortunately, I am leaving my position and moving on to pursue an entrepreneurial e-commerce business. So thank you very much. It's been almost 4 years of serving this amazing community and advancing the mission via these resources, in addition to the plethora of career development webinars available on the website. So I highly encourage you to engage with this amazing community. We're here to service you and support your needs. So please do reach out if you have any questions or concerns. We'd love to hear from you. And also a special thank you for 4 wonderful years of service with NRMN. So, thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Alexis. You will definitely be missed. Um, so we have no more questions at this time. So we're going to go ahead and give everyone the gift of time. We're going to let out 10 minutes early. But like Alexis said, if you all have any questions, definitely send us an email to that info@nrmnnet.net. Alternatively, you can also reach out to me here and do a search for me and connect with me on there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions through the My NRMN platform as well. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And Alexis, thank you so much for your time. You will definitely be missed by all of us here.
Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.